everybody. At the movies with film, down here in the vault, tearing things up, breaking the scenery, getting ourselves ready for another rip-roaring evening. Tonight, I know you can't get enough of this guy. I can't get enough of him either. We're showing the second Godzilla film ever made. Now, in the version that we're going to be seeing it's called Gigantus Fire Monster, but it is Godzilla. And made in 1955, year right after the first Godzilla King of the Monsters was made. And this is the American redo, which is not unusual. It was like, I guess Japanese films were something that Americans just couldn't take undiluted, so we had to shoot and redub it and do a lot of different things to it. This thing was no different. This was released in the United States in 1959. Now, in this case, Godzilla kind of makes his way again to the mainland and starts ripping things up and having a heck of a good time. This film was directed by a guy named Motoyoshi Oda, and does a nice job in handling a set of really veteran actors. And forgive me if I have to look too much on this thing, but these names do throw you. There is a particular actor in here, Hiroshima Kozumi, who actually becomes sort of a staple in the Godzilla series. He appeared in the 10th, the 20th, and the 30th anniversary films. He was also in the first three Mothra films. So he is a real veteran of this. He plays sort of the lead pilot. The second pilot in this film, who they kind of gave a goofy voice in his dubbing, is Minori Chikai. Now, if you remember watching Throne of Blood, Miki in Throne of Blood, the sort of the nemesis to the Macbeth figure who has to be destroyed, that's him. So he's also appearing in some quality Kurosawa films. Likewise, another guy, Takashi Shimura, who appears in a lot of the samurai films and the Kurosawa films. He has a small appearance in here as a scientist. And you'll see him, too, popping up in a lot of the Godzilla films. Another interesting guy who comes in via the American edition and American dubbing, and the American dubbing was directed by Hugo Grimaldi, who was sort of a standard dubber for a lot of Japanese product, also did some other French horror film products that he helped dub. But it was a guy named Marvin Miller. Now, Marvin Miller, you might know him. If you remember the Millionaire Show from the 50s, Michael Anthony, the guy who would always show up on the steps of somebody and give him $1 million. He's the narrator of this film. He does a lot of voice work in this thing. He's a voice that you know. You know his voice from a lot of other things. He, for instance, was the voice of the robot in Forbidden Planet. He was also the voice of the robot in Invisible Boy. Okay, he played Robbie. Likewise, he did some voiceovers in Fantastic Planet, something we've shown on this show. He worked in Gamera, and likewise a film that, Smokey came in and kind of panned, but, it's not that bad. King Dinosaur. Remember, actually, the Marvin Miller character, that narrator, is more of a star in that film, King Dinosaur, than anybody else, because that film just narrates, go on and on and on and on and on. So Marvin Miller should have been like top of the cast in that film. So, yeah, he did a lot of voiceovers, Deadly Menace and things like that. So be looking for his voice. He's got a real distinctive-like voice. The Godzilla character here, he's pretty much a standard Godzilla. He does look a little bit different. You notice that Godzilla does sort of move across time and evolve. So he does have a little bit of an incarnation difference here. And he's going to kind of go back into the hands of Ishiro Honda in the next films after this, because Honda was the man who sort of, brought Godzilla to life in that first film. And I think that he was the best sort of helmer, or the man who took care of the Godzilla image. Now, Godzilla, of course, very important figure in Japanese culture. At this point, he's in his villain stage. Okay, Godzilla released by the atomic bomb, and how do you get him back into the box once Pandora's box is opened? You cannot. And likewise, Godzilla represents a tangible threat to Japan. It is destroying, and in a way, that monster represents the power of nuclear energy itself, or the nuclear bomb. Okay, and that it is destroying Tokyo and Osaka and moving over major cities speaks to the terror that bomb wreaked in the hearts of the Japanese people. But what's interesting as Godzilla, of course, progresses, we've seen Godzilla versus Megalon. By that time, into the 70s, Godzilla is becoming a hero. Somebody that the Japanese people in these films call upon to, well, take care of business, to fight other monsters. It's kind of interesting to see that movement from villain to hero. And these very kaiju iga type of films, the Japanese monster films. Well, I think you're going to have fun with this film. Oda does a nice job. The dubbing is not bad. I think they should have gotten somebody to do the Chikai voice, but I'm not going to beef too much. The monster scenes are really nicely done. The conclusion to this film has some, well, interesting looks to it as well. I think you're going to enjoy it. Gigantic fire monster or Godzilla Raids Again, whatever you want to call it, works for me. Let's have fun with it. Roll 'em, Smokey.